Now let's take a look at how we can heal the trauma. Let's use a scene from movie Good Will Hunting to visualize the approach to trauma. Will is a teenager who didn't have an easy childhood. He's an orphan and grew up in multiple foster homes, where he was mistreated. His first trauma comes in the form of abandonment and rejection by his own parents, which creates the first scars on his soul. Will understandably develops a personality that protects him from contact with the trauma within himself and with his surroundings. He's created a mask or a defense mechanism. Aside from his group of friends, he doesn't let anyone in. He prefers to leave everyone before they have a chance to leave him. He doesn't establish any deeper relationships and knows how to deflect everything away from him with his strong rational or aggressive behavior. But his therapist Sean manages to find a way to reach him. A nice relationship develops between them, and at some point, Sean manages to guide Will to the place where the trauma lies. Let's show an important scene in which, after establishing a mutual relationship with one another, Sean manages to reach deeper into Will.
Hey, Will. I don't know a lot. You see this? All this shit. This is not your fault. Look at me, son. It's not your fault. I know. It's not your fault.
I know.
No, you don't. It's not your fault.
I know.
It's not your fault.
All right.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Don't fuck with me. It's not your fault.
Don't fuck with me, all right? Don't fuck with me, Sean. Not you.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
Let's try to analyze this scene and Will's entire story in more detail. As a small child, Will was severely traumatized, abandoned, rejected, physically and psychologically abused. All of this created several scars on his soul. He then went on with his life with this painful soul and soon discovered that all interactions with the environment were painful for him. And so he began to create protection in the form of various personality aspects, as we could see in the movie. For example, his strong intellect as a defense mechanism, the mask of a tough guy to hide his deeper sensitivity, or escape his reactive behavior so that he would not have to establish deeper relationships. And it was these aspects that then protected him from his surroundings. And with this built-up personality, he met Sean. But Sean recognized these masks and defenses and saw what was hidden behind them. And over time, as he and Will were developing a deeper and deeper relationship, he was also able to push aside these built-up personality aspects. And so eventually, as Sean got closer physically and emotionally to Will, Will's built-up personality began to crumble, which eventually allowed the trauma to fully manifest. And this is exactly the place that everyone who carries a strong trauma must get to. There is no other way. We can do yoga, meditate, do anything else, but none of this will have a significant impact. Whenever I see trauma in a person, it has always been hidden behind a deep layer of accumulated personality masks and defense mechanisms. And now I will go back to the first episode of the series and use Will to explain the relationship between the soul and personality. You can see that the three basic attributes of Will's personality are the exact opposite of who he truly is on a deeper level. First, Will is obviously a very sensitive guy. However, he has created a mask of a tough guy. Second, on a deeper level, he is very emotional. However, he has acquired the abilities of an intellectual, so he covers up emotionality with intellect. And third, it is clear that the more than anything else, he desires to establish deep emotional connection with someone. However, he has developed an escapist pattern of behavior, so he runs away from deeper relationships. Simply put, his personality is the opposite of who he is on a deeper level. But we will discuss this in more detail in different episodes. Now let's get back to our scene. At this moment, Will uses the tough guy personality aspect, because at the moment he starts to feel the painful emotions growing. And so he has to cover them up with something, again with the tough guy mask that does not cry. But it doesn't work, and so he uses another developed ability that protects him from his surroundings. Aggression. Will attack slightly, trying to discourage Sean, trying to make him stop. Will tells Sean, not you. What does that mean? Why not Sean? If someone else went in Sean's place, Will would probably attack him somehow and work his way more easily out of the painful situation. But he likes Sean. He doesn't want to hurt him, and he doesn't want to disappoint him. The sense of trust and security that Sean has gained with him makes him remain in the situation. That's why Will has avoided deeper relationships, out of fear of opening up and experiencing similar situation. Sean thus comes to the place of trauma that surfaces in the form of deeply buried emotions, tears, and the loss of carefully built-up defenses and control. The trauma is discovered and expressed, and a connection with it is recreated and re-established. As this story shows, it's important to choose the person with whom we will be sharing or working on the trauma. The most important thing is trusting the person and feeling safe. A safe space is essential to healing trauma, because opening up and showing our pains and vulnerability is the most difficult and feared step for the traumatized person. Distrust and closed-mindedness is a defense mechanism, and if we throw that off, we are sending a message that we are starting to trust, and therefore we are very vulnerable and at risk. In our story, Sean is a wonderful example of a person with whom trauma can be shared and healed. He's been through many painful situations himself. He recognizes and can respond to defense mechanisms and personality masks. He's sensitive, perceptive, and most of all, he loves and cares about Will. He sees in Will the little misused boy that Will hides under a layer of constructed personality masks and defense mechanisms. In this story, Sean is a huge opportunity for Will. He's managed to create a sense of safety and trust, and the experience and depth of humanity that Sean possesses gives Will the space to express himself authentically and show his pains and vulnerability. There are many ways and methods of getting to the trauma, but the essential thing is to commit to talking about the situation, and especially the feelings that the traumatic situation has caused. It's necessary to re-establish a connection with trauma. Contact with the trauma will hurt, and this pain, unfortunately, can't be skipped, it can't be avoided. This is illustrated by the very realistically portrayed story of Will hunting. The moment Sean appeared in his life, a safe space was created for him to open up and heal his trauma. With Sean's help, Will establishes contact with the trauma. He stops using the abilities that protect him from his outside world, and he opens up and expresses the trauma in a safe environment. And at the most important moment, he receives acceptance from Sean. And now a person exists with whom he shares his pain. He's no longer alone in it. The content of the trauma is no longer locked in the dark cellar where Will hid it. He invited Sean into the cellar. They both went there together and saw what was there. And now they can talk about it and gradually heal it. What is hidden in the imaginary cellar comes out in the light. Suppressed feelings and emotions comes out, and that is the only possible way to heal. However, we can run into several obstacles on our way to reach trauma, like shame or fear, for instance. When working with trauma, it's important to be authentic, both to yourself and potentially to the person with whom you are sharing or working on your trauma. Shame, for example, may cause you not to tell the full truth to yourself or the other person, thus complicating the healing process. Fear, then, is a natural barrier that points to the danger that lies behind it. Fear can only be acknowledged and accepted. It's appropriate, it's doing its job, and there is no need to fight it. All one has to do is gather the courage to consciously pass through it while being aware of the role of fear and how hard it will be to discover what's behind it. Each step past the imaginary boundary that fear uses to keep you from your trauma is a step towards possible healing. If I were to describe the treatment in simple terms, I would say this. Trauma is caused and further fueled by manifestations of non-loving behavior, and the only possible cure lies in the opposite, that is, in loving expressions. Trauma is a certain pattern hidden deep inside a person that needs to be rewritten during healing. And rewriting trauma takes place by replacing the hurtful non-loving pattern with a loving one. That is, replacing the experience of deep ignorance and disinterest with love and attention. Overwriting physical harm with hugs. Verbal harm with attention and empathy and care. By providing safety when the traumatized person feels threatened. By expressing acceptance in moments of experiencing feelings of rejection. By experiencing a painful situation in a loving atmosphere shows the traumatized person that it's possible to experience such a situation without pain, and that in the future there will slowly be no need to fear it anymore.